For millions of years, Earth kept creating bigger monsters. And every time nature built something larger, it survived. Until one creature became so powerful, the planet itself had to erase it. But not with a bigger predator. Not with an asteroid. With something far smaller. Something almost invisible. And that's the part nobody saw coming. Because at first, everything about this titan looked unstoppable. The world it was born into was perfect for giants. The forests were endless, the air was thick and warm, food covered entire continents, nothing needed to rush, nothing needed to hide. Life simply grew. Bigger jaws, longer necks, heavier bodies, like evolution had removed every limit. And deep inside that world, a new ruler emerged. At first, it was small. Easy to ignore, a young predator moving through shadows beneath creatures 10 times its size. But it had something different. Its body wasted nothing. Every muscle had purpose. Every tooth had pressure behind it. Every step carried balance instead of speed. It wasn't just another giant, it was efficient. And nature loves efficiency. Millions of years passed. The creature grew larger, stronger, deadlier, until finally it became the titan that ruled Earth, a walking catastrophe. Its footsteps shook mud from riverbanks. Smaller predators disappeared when it arrived. Entire ecosystems moved around its hunger. One bite could crush bone like dry wood. Its roar rolled across valleys like thunder. And when it hunted, entire herds panicked before they even saw it. That's how powerful it became. The titan didn't need to chase constantly. Most prey surrendered to fear long before the attack began. And this is where things get strange. Because the titan didn't just survive, it dominated for so long, the world started depending on it. Huge herds evolved around avoiding it. Forests changed under its movement. Even rivers shifted as giant bodies crossed through them year after year. The planet had built a perfect system. Predators, prey, balance. Everything was working. And that should have been the end of the story. But then something changed. Not suddenly. At first, nobody would have noticed it. The winters became slightly colder. The dry seasons lasted longer. Some rivers stopped returning after summer. Small changes, tiny cracks. But tiny cracks are how disasters begin, especially for giants. At first, the titan ignored it. Why wouldn't it? It had survived floods, volcanoes, droughts. Nothing challenged it. Nothing could. But the problem wasn't strength. The problem was size. Because every day the titan needed enormous amounts of food, mountains of it. A smaller predator could survive weeks with little prey. The titan couldn't. It was too massive. And this is where things started going wrong. The forests slowly shrank. Not everywhere, just enough. The giant herds began moving farther north. Some never returned. Hunting became harder. Not impossible, just inefficient. But inefficiency is deadly when survival depends on constant consumption. The titan started walking farther each season. Its territory expanded. Its fights became more violent. Predators that once avoided each other now clashed constantly over shrinking hunting grounds. The old balance was breaking apart, and something else began happening. The young weren't surviving. Not many anyway. Eggs disappeared during harsher seasons. Smaller hatchlings starved before reaching adulthood. Some froze during colder nights that never used to exist. Others simply vanished. But that wasn't the real problem. The real problem was time. Because giants live slowly. They grow slowly, reproduce slowly, recover slowly, and nature doesn't forgive slow reactions. Especially when the world changes fast. At first, the titan still looked invincible. If you stood near one, you'd think nothing on Earth could ever remove it. That illusion lasted millions of years. And then the balance collapsed. The prey herds became thinner. Migration routes changed completely. Entire valleys went silent. Places once filled with movement became empty. No footsteps. No calls. no life. The Titan adapted the only way it knew how. It hunted more aggressively, but aggressive hunting created another problem. The remaining prey disappeared even faster, and suddenly, the ruler of Earth faced something it had never experienced before: scarcity. Now the Titan was moving constantly, crossing huge distances, burning enormous energy, searching for food that barely existed anymore. And what happened next changed everything. The bodies started appearing near dried rivers, massive skeletons half buried in mud. Some died alone. Others collapsed in groups. Not killed, not attacked, exhausted. The strongest creatures on Earth dying from the simple act of staying alive. And the terrifying part? The planet barely noticed. The forests kept moving in the wind. The oceans kept rising and falling. Nature didn't stop for giants. It never does. But even then, extinction wasn't guaranteed. The Titan still had power, still had dominance, still had millions of years of evolution behind it. And then came the final blow. Not from the sky, from the ground. Tiny creatures had been evolving quietly in the shadows the entire time. Small mammals, fast breeders, quick eaters, flexible survivors. They hid underground during disasters. They survived on scraps. They adapted to almost anything. They didn't need endless forests. They didn't need giant prey. They didn't need perfect conditions. And most importantly, they adapted faster. That was the difference. The Titan ruled through strength. The small creatures survived through change. At first, they stayed hidden, scavenging eggs, stealing food, waiting in darkness while giants fought for survival above them. But every bad season made them stronger, and every bad season made the Titan weaker. Because the world was no longer rewarding size, it was rewarding flexibility. And giants cannot turn quickly. Not physically, not evolutionarily. That's what doomed them. The Titan was built for a world that no longer existed. Its strength became a burden. Its hunger became a weakness. Its massive body became a trap. And once that process started, it couldn't stop. Generation after generation grew smaller in number. The old hunting grounds vanished. The forests broke apart. The giant ruler of Earth slowly lost control of its own kingdom. But here's the darkest part. The Titan probably never understood what was happening. Imagine being the strongest creature alive and still starving. Imagine ruling the planet for millions of years, only to lose because the world quietly changed its rules. No final battle, no dramatic ending, just a slow collapse, and eventually silence. The Titan disappeared. The rivers kept flowing without it. The forests grew differently without it. The world moved on. And the small creatures hiding beneath the feet of giants, they inherited the Earth. That should have been impossible. But survival was never about power. It was about adaptation. And nature has never cared who ruled yesterday, only who can survive tomorrow. But the story gets even stranger. Because the fall of the Titan created something new. Without giant predators controlling ecosystems, balance shifted everywhere. Smaller animals multiplied rapidly. New hunters emerged. Forests transformed. Evolution accelerated, like the planet had suddenly been released from pressure. And among those small survivors, one group kept changing faster than the rest. Their hands became more useful. Their eyes faced forward. Their brains expanded. At the time, they were weak, fragile, insignificant. No claws, no armor, no massive teeth. If the Titan had still existed, those creatures would have died instantly. But the Titan was gone. The throne was empty. And for the first time in millions of years, Earth no longer belonged to giants. It belonged to intelligence. That single shift changed everything forever. Because once brains became more valuable than size, evolution moved in a completely different direction. The age of monsters ended. The age of humans began. And maybe that's the most disturbing part of all. because humans look at giant predators and think they failed because they weren't strong enough. But strength was never the issue. The Titan lost because it became too specialized, too dependent on one version of the world. And humans are starting to make the exact same mistake. Cities grow larger, systems become more fragile, consumption keeps increasing. Everything looks stable, right up until it doesn't, just like before. Because extinction rarely looks dramatic at first. Usually it begins with small cracks, a slightly hotter year, a missing resource, a changing environment, tiny problems, until suddenly the system can't recover anymore. And by the time the giants realize it, it's already too late. But there's another detail most people never think about. The Titan didn't disappear in one moment. For thousands of years, survivors still existed. Scattered, alone. Small populations wandering through dying ecosystems. The last giants lived in a completely different world from the one that created them. The forests were thinner. The prey was smaller. The climate was unstable. Every generation inherited a worse version of Earth. And still, they kept trying to survive. That might be the saddest part of the entire story, because evolution doesn't care about effort. A creature can fight with everything it has and still lose. The final Titans probably walked through empty hunting grounds searching for prey that no longer existed, driven by instincts built for an older Earth. Every step burning energy they couldn't replace. Every hunt becoming harder. Every season becoming cruel. And somewhere nearby, small mammals kept multiplying in silence, waiting, adapting, learning. The future was already replacing the past. But the giants couldn't see it. Because power creates blindness. When something dominates long enough, it begins believing domination is permanent. That the system will always support it. That the world needs it. But nature never makes permanent rulers. Every empire in Earth's history eventually faced the same terrifying truth. The environment always changes. And when it does, survival belongs to whatever adapts first, not whatever was strongest before. That rule killed the Titan, and it still controls life today. Even now, species disappear because environments shift faster than they can react. Entire ecosystems collapse quietly, not with explosions, not with cinematic endings, with slow changes nobody notices until the damage becomes irreversible. That's how nature works. Silently, patiently, one small crack at a time. And humans may be the first species intelligent enough to understand that process, but possibly still too arrogant to stop it. Because modern civilization looks a lot like the world of the Titan. Huge systems, massive consumption, fragile balance, everything connected, everything dependent on stability. And history has already shown what happens when stability disappears. The terrifying part is not that giants died. The terrifying part is that they thought they were safe right before it happened.
Go ahead, you had a question about
Just like every dominant species before extinction. The Titan ruled Earth for millions of years, longer than human civilization has even existed. And still, it vanished. Almost completely. Reduced to fossils buried beneath stone. A warning hidden underground. And maybe that's why giant skeletons feel so disturbing when humans discover them. Not because they look monstrous, but because they prove something far more uncomfortable. No matter how powerful something becomes, the planet is always bigger, and eventually, the world changes for everyone. The story does not end here. Do subscribe for related content.